early 1980s, coal was at a crossroads. The industry was losing around £100 million a year, and a more commercially minded coal board wanted to shut poorly performing pits. But almost 200,000 jobs and whole communities still depended on the industry, and the miners' union opposed any closures merely on economic grounds. The stage was set for a conflict that would change British coal mining forever.
He was just waiting, really, that there was going to be a strike at some time or some big issue. Every autumn he got round, it was going to be the annual overtime bank going on, and he went to this ding-dong battle about wages or whatever it was. And that happened in 82, it happened in 83, and then of course the strike kicked off in March 84.
The strike started when it emerged Corton Wood Colliery in Yorkshire would shut. Within days, pickets were forming outside pits across the region.
No reason why that pit should shut. It's trying to shut it purely on economic grounds. So are the men here prepared to fight? But aren't there alternative jobs offered? No.
No, we haven't been offered, no.
This area, there's no jobs around this area. There's only pits holding this area together. If this pit goes, it'll be like a plague all up valley.
The coal board then announced plans to further reduce capacity throughout the industry. Urged on by the National Union of Mine Workers, the strike spread across the country.
When you'll look back with pride, and you'll say to your son or your daughter, in 1984, I took part in the greatest struggle in trade union history. I fought to save your pit. I fought to save the job. I fought to save this community.
Are there any circumstances whatsoever in which you'd be prepared to think again about closing those pits, or at least modify those plans?
Sir, I have acted on behalf of you, the taxpayers, who I think are getting a little tired of putting out so much money just to keep these mines going when you don't need them. Does it worry you? Unless you want to buy the coal from me, I'd be happy to sell you all the extra tons.
Most picketing was peaceful, but it was the violent clashes that made the headlines.
I've never been as terrified in my life as I was running across them fields with them horses behind me. It was just like the battleground. It was like being in a war. All you could do was just hope that when you could run fast enough and get out of the way.
Striking miners had a long battle on their hands. Coal accounted for more than 2/3 of the fuel used for electricity in the UK, but supplies had been stockpiled. When the dispute reached a stalemate, many mining families faced months of hardship.
I can usually manage to buy about £1.50 a month, and maybe 2 packets of liver a week, which is, pretty cheap. So we're just about coal.
The parents might to get us a few quid, or my father-in-law was quite good to us. But that's what we have to do to get through. It were beg and borrow. I'm not going to say steal, but we might steal a little bit.
As the months passed, some men started to return to work, but they faced fierce opposition from striking miners.
I felt like I was in a gallows. I made my way up the path, and the doors open, and driver was there with a crash helmet on, and his chaperone. That was the most scariest thing I'd ever lived through. Even to this day, I've never gone through anything scarier than that. I was getting palpitations as we were nearing to the bridge. It goes over into Pit Yard. Oh, crikey, when we went over that bridge, and soon there must have been probably 2,000 or 3,000 pickets on either side of the road, and it was a quarter-mile drive, and they were shouting, and we thought it was death, and I can still hear it today. I was petrified, and anybody that goes to a picket line said, I weren't scared, they hit the line.
Most strikers saw anyone going back to work as a traitor.
He's become a mercenary. Miss N, I hold my principles very high.
I don't put a price on him. He's sold out. So I'm afraid I've not got much sympathy for him. If this was a war, he would be shot as a traitor, going over to the other side. The pit was the key to the entire community. Even geographically, the pit was the biggest thing in the area. Psychologically, growing up as a child in these villages, the pit was the backdrop to your life. The nearest hillside was the pit tip. Economically, the pit was the main driver of those communities. So for someone from the community to go to work over a picket line, especially in that period, that was a massive act of betrayal, stupidity. It's difficult to convey nowadays.
Some miners broke the strike because they were desperate for money. Others were unhappy a national ballot hadn't been called. In areas like Nottinghamshire, many miners didn't strike at all because they believed the dispute wasn't legitimate.
We've been called traitors, and we hadn't traited anybody. We hadn't stabbed anybody back. We'd not done one thing, said we were going to do one thing and done another. We've not betrayed anybody. All we want to do is to uphold this fundamental right to work.
Before the next part of our comedy hour, we're going over to the newsroom for a report from Jan Levy. By 1985, the negotiations had failed to bring an agreement, and the trickle of men going back to work was steadily increasing. In March, almost a year after it started, there was a meeting to decide the future of the strike.
The miners' strike is over. The NUM is recommending all its members to go back to work on Tuesday. Voting at today's special delegate conference was declared a few minutes ago. 98 to 91 in favour of an organised return.
The strike itself will be over on Tuesday and there'll be a disciplined vote.
2 days later, most, but not all, miners returned to work.
We're proud of fun. We started Mansfield front yard. When we all went back to work, we all went back together in block. And we carried banner. And we felt proud, yeah. We done what we achieved. We were with the union right through. You're going to go back, you're going to start making wages, and things would get better in that respect. But you also thought we'd lost the strike, so things were going to get worse in other respects, because the NUM would lose some of its ability to defend its membership, to promote health and safety, to promote decent conditions. So it was not a great feeling. We were going back, but we were going back having lost. And of course, we didn't all go back. Some of our guys were stood on the pit lane. And these guys had lost their jobs.
The end of the strike heralded a new era. The focus now was profit, not protecting jobs. Production and productivity in the industry were about to change dramatically.
We made investments in the 70s and 80s. We continued that in the late 80s, but of course, with less mines, we've got money to concentrate into the better places. And so we've got state-of-the-art equipment, and we were starting to develop some very, very good performances.
We started to get new equipment.
Okay, that documentary goes on for over an hour, and I'm only allowed about 11 minutes to put it on YouTube. Now, I used to be a miner. I was also on strike, and I ended up having a divorce. And then when the pit closed, I had got married again and built up my home again the second time. And then I had a second divorce after the pit closed. So for me, the strike and the pit close was a disaster. And I became an alcoholic. But I picked myself up now, and now I'm an author. And this is my second book out. I'm not showing you this so you can buy my book. I'm just showing you to say who I am, okay? This is me, my second book, Internet Dating King's Diaries. And there's my name there, Clive Worth. If you type my name into Google, Clive Worth, you'll see all about me. And of course, this is my tiger bed that's been in 3 documentaries. Well, go on to the rest of my videos on YouTube and you'll see more about me. But for me, the miners' strike and the pit closing was a disaster. Okay?